Did you see the announcement of Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson? If Jake Paul wants to be recognized as a boxer, I don't know if that's really the way.
Everybody in the world is now a programmer. This is the miracle of artificial intelligence.
The way of the future is to do really groundbreaking things, and you're presenting it at a more affordable price.
Those people who are figuring that out are paid, disgustingly paid.
Rebranding is a great way to tell the world your company's going in a new direction.
Even though my logo may stand out now, what would make it stand out even more? And of course, this episode is powered by Ecamm Live. Whether you're streaming, whether you're recording, podcasting, or presenting, Ecamm could do it all. I'm talking about video isolation, audio isolation, transitions, overlays, playing videos, everything. And we're giving away 14 days for free. If you go to www.nickyandmoose.com/ecamm, that's ECAMM, for that 14-day trial.
Hello.
Moose, how we feeling?
I am good. I'm good. Excited for yet another episode. I think we're getting close to that 200 mark. And I know 200 feels like weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks away because, of course, it's one a week. But it's like 179-ish, right?
180.
This is
180.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot. But it's pretty dope. It's pretty dope. So yeah, no, other than that, man, pretty good. You know, just browsing through. I'm in the market for a new car. And so with one baby and a second car seat, closely following right after it, we're reevaluating our spaces. And so that's been taking a good time off of my calendar as we're looking at the different makes and models and what we, need and how to make use of it. So a lot of learned lessons there too, man, just in terms of, and I think it's a programming thing for me. I always go back to just how I was wired and brought up and the personal development aspect or the self-growth aspect of it, because I remember how much pressure I used to feel walking into a dealership, right? Because you were uneducated on how to communicate with people about what you want. You were afraid that someone was going to get over on you, right? There's always that connotation around what happens when you're dealing with salespeople, specifically those in the car industry. And so now I'm just seeing the growth of myself as I'm walking in and out of dealers. I'm like, oh, I know exactly what I want. I'm just here to look at the following. I'm looking to make a decision at this and day. And it's like the pressure of that used to exist and walking into these places just does not really exist anymore, right? That intimidation or whatever that comes with it. I literally told Robelsi as we walked out of one of those dealerships, like, hey, I have come a long way, because I remember the anxiety that used to come over me as I was walking in. Somebody might be listening to this like, really? Why? What's the big deal? It's like, yo, when you're first generation and you don't come from, that financial education of how to utilize credit, how to build credit, how to negotiate, or how to walk in and make such a large financial purchase without feeling like you're taken advantage of or that you're doing the right thing. Because sometimes the person that you're dealing with, many of the people that you're dealing with, honestly, are all professionals and they didn't do anything wrong, but there's that buyer's remorse that happens where you buy something and you're like, oh, shoot, did I do the right thing? Is this the way to go about it? And so, yeah, that's, just a little something happening in my world right now.
So could I ask, did we narrow down makes and models, or are we just going to leave that kind of...
Now, the only issue is, so for example, today we went and checked out Rivian, the Rivian RS1, really cool car. Love the technology in it. It's like really, really high in terms of its height and all that. But the third row, the space in the third row it felt like, very, very narrow. So it's like, okay, you're getting a car with a third row, but if nobody can fit in the third row, do you really have the third row? Mm-hmm. So I think we're still back at saying, while it would have been great to utilize some of the incentives in the electric cars, I'm honestly between waiting until that new Escalade comes out next year, because it's going to be an electric car. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're right in the middle there. So we'll see how it goes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So anybody who may be listening, who may have a deal and get him the Escalade sooner. You know what I mean? Like, make that possible. I don't know.
2025.
Yeah, that's the goal. For me, I'm one going to watch everything on Netflix in Spanish and just do English subtitles because everything's so much better. I was starting to watch English stuff and I was like, it's not the same. I needed to be dramatic. So now I'm watching. They have a series on Luis Miguel, which was a Mexican performer, but was born in Puerto Rico, with a Italian mother and a Spaniard father, right? But sold 60 million copies. And so I don't know how I got caught up in this series because I think it's a little bit before my time of like I knew of him, but like didn't really know of him per se. So there's 3 seasons of this, which is crazy. So I'm in season 1, and what's something that stood out to me was even back then how people market towards the gap, right? So I said he was born in Puerto Rico, and that I guess the parents were traveling a few times. I guess the father was a failed entertainer. Sorry, no offense. So now they're trying to market Luis, and his father heard on the radio that Mexico was going through like a economics downfall, right? So when they were trying to figure out, like, okay, how do we brand him? This is what we want to call him. This is what we call. It's like, why don't we have him market in like from Mexico? They need a light. They need some type of revenue. Why don't we do that there? But he's not from there. Well, no one knows where this boy is from. We could just say he's from there, right? So that was very interesting. And of course, I always get interested in like family, like kid to like superstar situation and how the family dynamics are. Of course, it reminds me of kind of like a Hispanic Michael Jackson, right? How crazy the father was like, yo, practice here. We're going here. We're doing these shows. Boom, boom, boom. When I was his age, I was doing this, that, and the third. My man put him on drugs to keep him up. It was just, it's an interesting series. Very, very interesting series. And even, of course, a reminder of look at the contracts. Make sure you're paying attention to your money because they got into tax problems. And this is a lot. This is a lot going on. I feel so emotionally attached. And this is why I don't even know why I'm watching Netflix again because of that. I've totally not watched Love is Blind because I want some of my brain cells to still be intact. So I'm learning off of this series and avoiding Love is Blind because the new series is there. No offense to nobody because I probably will watch it. I'm probably just waiting for the other half to watch it with me. But if you haven't, if you are even a little bit of Hispanic, you should watch this series. It's really dope. I'm binging, so I'm probably going to be done with season 1 probably by today or tomorrow. Yeah, that's what I got.
I've been hesitant to get into another one because I already know once I start, I can't. I literally can't stop until it's finished. It becomes very problematic.
It's very horrible.
So yeah, I've been telling myself no. I did. You know which movie I watched, which was super dope. Actually, super dope. The Lamborghini movie. So it was about the founder of Lamborghini. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I did.
Okay.
It was a
You
movie, so it was a nice.
you started it the last episode.
That's right. I did mention that on the last episode.
Yeah, you're like, I'm
Yes.
15 minutes in. I'm just mentioning it.
I had to stop. But no, super dope, man. It was literally the story of Lamborghini, how they started off as a tractor company. They wanted to, they were building tractors, or he was building tractors, right? Kind of partnered with someone who he met in the army, and they set off to build tractors and had a very successful company. It grew under that title, Lamborghini. It was a tractor at first. And because of his success, he started to drive the Ferrari, the sports car. And he realized that the Ferrari, and sorry again, my boss, he makes fun of me all the time. He's like, all the time you're on the podcast talking about not spoiling it for people, you're literally spoiling it for them. I'm like, that's a great point. You really do make a good point. So for those of you who wanted to watch the movie, skip past it. But I still think there's a lot of lessons in it. So he's driving a Ferrari, and he realizes that the clutch of the Ferrari is not good. Like, it's, the clutch is in a manual car, it's what you use to switch gears, etc. So he's like, it's just not good. He's like, so much so that if he were to use the clutch on my tractor, he would have a better car. So this is crazy, right? That for everyone who thinks that collaboration is the best way, he goes to Mr. Ferrari and he says, hey, why don't we partner? I'll give you my clutch. We'll solve this problem. He turns him down, and like in a very condescending way. He turns him absolutely down. So he is hyper competitive and then sets out to make the next, sports car or whatnot. And sure enough, the rest is history. Like that's how Lamborghini, that's the Lamborghini that we know today, right? It's for their sports cars. I didn't even know that they made tractors at one point, but that's how they began. Started off as a tractor company making tractors, transitioned into sports cars when Ferrari shut them down for a collaboration. So that's where they're at.
And now,
crazy.
I think they make Lamborghini car seats and everything like that. They make Lamborghini everything.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. Should add that on your
check that out.
Your registry.
Seriously, yeah. That's why I'm like, oh, we need someone like something like that right now.
I saw it. It's either that or it's one of these, or maybe it's Porsche. I don't know. One of these expensive cars. They have like a stroller or baby seat. I forgot what it was. I'm gonna find it. Side note, I want your opinion on this. Did you see the announcement this past week of Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson?
I saw that. I actually saw it today. Like I saw the announcement. I didn't pay attention to it, but then I saw the tattoo that he got on the face. Did you see that? He got a tattoo on his face.
No.
The same one that Mike Tyson got. Jake Paul.
Why is he this way? Why?
He got, honestly, and now that I've watched his documentary and I know how the Paul brothers operate, he got my attention with that. So from a marketing standpoint, I'm like, I see what you did. I see exactly what you did. And I don't know whether or not the fight was getting the attention it deserved, but when he got that tattoo, I was like, oh, snap. I know he just took it to a whole nother level to really show, and so I don't know how many people will respond to it, but just from an attention grabbing standpoint, the dude got a tattoo on his face. I was like, yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. So it says live on Netflix, Saturday, July 20th. It's under his promotion, which is Most Valuable Promotions, MVP. It will be at the AT&T Stadium, which is in Arlington, Texas. And I have so mixed feelings as a boxing fan because, one, this is going to be an amazing payday for Mike Tyson. Hands down. I don't know if he needs it. I don't think he does. I think he's doing very well. But of course, I know, what was it, a couple years ago, he was back in the ring for like a exhibition match with, who did he fight? Was it Roy Jones? I think it was Roy Jones, right?
Yes.
And he looked a little scary, but He's old. He's old. If Jake Paul wants to be recognized as a boxer, I don't know if going for the old legends, the retired UFC people, I don't know if that's really the way. Now, granted, he did get Tyson's Fury son, and I believe he lost.
Mm-hmm.
So to get Mike Tyson out of retirement to do this, I'm very mixed feelings, right? This will be great. Like, Mike Tyson has like everything to lose with this one. And I don't know, not everything to lose, because I mean, I think at this point we know this is great entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
But I do believe Jake Paul is in a better position, and he knows that, because if he wins, it's like you beat Mike Tyson. But at the same time, you could say that's not Mike Tyson's prime. You're not really proving still too much. My man is how old, been out of the ring how long? You just got a fight, I say, a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if anybody tuned into that. I have to look at numbers, but I'm not sure if anybody tuned in compared to your past fights. And if you lose, it's Mike Tyson. Like, you lost to Mike Tyson, right? If Mike Tyson loses, well, it's not going to be too bad, because it's like, man, you're out of your prime. Like, you had no business being in the ring, right? Now, if he wins, it's like Mike still got it. You feel me? Like, but he has nothing else to prove. I'm very confused by this as a fan. Now, granted, as a money business side, let's leverage what the Paul brothers have done. He knows that he's recycling certain fighters. Shoot, if I can get a couple of mil off of this, and I have a feeling I could beat him, sure, why not? Okay.
Yeah.
But I just, will I be tuned in? Maybe. I probably. I support probably. Mike. I don't support Jake, but even though this is going to be under MVP, and so he's going to see a good amount of it, like, I support Mike. I'm going to go for Mike, but it's just weird. Once again, as a boxing fan, this could be the same way as any other fighter coming up in the sport, where they find a whole bunch of bums to fight in the beginning to prep them for a big situation. I know he's called out Canelo, but Canelo has everything to lose with facing that. It has nothing to do with money. It has everything to lose. So I don't think a real fighter has anything to gain with facing any of the Paul brothers. But I think he's just trying to milk this storyline. He makes a lot of money doing it. I know he is putting on female fighters, because one of the Puerto Rican female fighters is like co-host and everything like that. Like, that is a really good look. And so I appreciate the platform that he's built to give looks to female fighters. But I'm so torn. I'm so torn.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I don't know if there's anything there from a competition, like a true fighting or boxing standpoint. It doesn't make. I just looked up their ages. Jake is 27, Mike is 54 or 57. So I mean, it's like, you're talking about a 25 year age difference, bare minimum. It's just, bananas. But I think it is purely entertainment. Maybe it's the equivalent of, Logan taking on Floyd Mayweather and creating that same hype. So it's like, okay, who is the next best person still in the game or still willing to give it a run from an entertainment standpoint? Yeah, I think Mike. I think, Pacquiao's out. I wouldn't see Pacquiao doing something like that. So it makes sense. Maybe that's why they're going for it. I would like to see him fight Ryan Garcia. That'd be cool.
Ryan
if he's
Garcia
as
is
good
going
as he
through
is.
some things right now. I don't know what he's going through.
Yeah.
He needs
Yeah, it's very scary, but I'm just saying, I mean, first off, I definitely hope he bounces back, but from a true fight standpoint, I think seeing him up against Ryan Garcia, I don't know that I've seen that
two
conversation.
different weight classes.
Yeah.
Ryan Garcia,
I haven't seen that conversation,
is
but
small compared to Jake. Now, granted, Jake, from the fights that he's done, looks like a competitive fighter, right? He can box. I'm not knocking his skills in any kind of way. It's more of, is he just owning the entertainment side of boxing, right? Or is he really trying to be taken as a true boxer? Or does he even care? Because there's some people that's just like, I'm really here for the money. Like, I'm in this generation where there's, like, for instance, there's a lot of rappers. I'm here for the money. I'm doing these particular things just for the bag. If he's here for that, I'm never going to judge somebody how they make their money. It's just, I'm conflicted as a boxing fan, as a Mike fan, and also just understanding how certain fighters just shouldn't be in the ring anymore.
Right.
Once again, you just have nothing to prove. You've had an amazing career, good and bad. You are highly respected. There's just nothing commentary. Like, just be on the sideline, be the coach, be the promoter. Just so I don't like it.
be the coach. I like that.
Yeah, be the coach. Something. Whatever. Anyways, let's switch gears real quick. Moose gave me this really dope clip from, who was that? The NVIDIA CEO?
Founder and CEO of NVIDIA, yeah.
Yeah, he said something interesting about AI. Let's just tune in.
I'm going to say something, and it's going to sound completely opposite of what people feel. You probably recall over the course of the last 10 years, 15 years, almost everybody who sits on a stage like this would tell you it is vital that your children learn computer science. Everybody should learn how to program. And in fact, it's almost exactly the opposite. It is our job to create computing technology such that nobody has to program. And that the programming language is human. Everybody in the world is now a programmer. This is the miracle. This is the miracle of artificial intelligence. For the very first time, we have closed the gap. The technology divide has been completely closed. And it's the reason why so many people can engage artificial intelligence. It is the reason why every single government, every single industrial conference, every single company is talking about artificial intelligence today.
I'll let you go.
Yeah. The reason why I actually shared this is because I thought from a business perspective, the way of right now and into the future, of course, it's integrating AI, but the thought process behind it is making things more accessible, better products that are more affordable, because essentially that's what AI is doing. I mean, when you think about some of the subscriptions that you're able to get so that you can unlock things like a pro version of ChatGPT or some of the different concepts, they're incredibly affordable. So for the power of this technology, had it come out, let's call it 5-10 years ago, I honestly do not think that it would have been as affordable as it's presenting itself today. Now, granted, if you want to incorporate AI into your software or at a larger scale and whatever the case may be, I know those customizations can be a bit more pricier or they're more expensive, but more and more, I'm just realizing that the way of the future is to do really groundbreaking things that are better than what is existing into the world now, and you're presenting it at a more affordable price. that can be available to the masses. So that was just the one thing that stood out to me. It's like, I wholeheartedly believe in what's happening. I'm interested to see, again, what's going to happen when some of these regulations come into place, because there is a part of AI that can be a bit worrisome if maybe left completely unregulated. So I don't know, what will happen there. But that's the one thing that stood out to me, Nick, is this idea of how can we begin thinking about both our brands and our businesses through the lens and the perspective of making better products that are even better than what is currently in the marketplace, and presenting it to the marketplace at a more affordable price so that it's available to the masses.
I heard it in a different way, right? So though everybody knows I love AI, right? AI has and will continue to change the world and make things a lot easier for people, right? To say that you don't need to code, AI is happening because of coding.
Mm-hmm.
So I think hearing a message from the saying such a leader in the game, you don't need to code. The reasons why we have certain no code software is because the coders made it very easy for the people who don't know how to code. If you're thinking about it from a business side of things, if you can make it easier for people, for the regular smuggler people, to create websites, to create apps and all these different things, you are probably going to make a lot of money because you're doing the hard work and you're solving a problem for the regular people, for the masses. So I get what he's trying to say. Let's state that. I get what he's trying to say. But from a standpoint of like seeing the gap, understanding where the money really is, and if you really get the code side of AI, I mean, I could only imagine how much these engineers, these coders, from an open AI standpoint, from a Google Gemini standpoint, Claude just dropped Claude 3, even X's, I don't know what it's called, Gronk, whatever. I don't know. Shout out to Elon. But those people who are figuring that out are paid, like disgustingly paid. So yes, can you still be paid by using these no-code softwares and programs? Absolutely. There's a hustle in everything. There's a problem and a solution to everything. Absolutely. But I'm saying, don't go tell the masses, there's no need to learn code. Don't tell your kid to learn code anymore. No, I'm going to do the opposite. Please learn code, because the next thing is going to need code. Everything that we know from our computers, from our phones, everything, TVs, is code.
But I think he's talking more from an accessibility standpoint, in the sense that the only way, so for example, if you were going to, let's say, have a really good career, your options before were doctor, lawyer,
yes,
engineer, which essentially is, learning code or computer science. But he's saying that, at least, as I translate it through that perspective, because AI is making things so much more accessible, it's available to us, and it makes us so much more well-rounded, you don't have to take that path. You can take a different path,
yes,
and utilize AI as if you had the computer science background. At least, that's what I'm thinking. Because, yeah, I'm with you on the sense that you should not be discouraging people to learn how to code. But I think it's the overall concept around how AI is being made available to the masses at such an affordable price that the need to learn computer science probably isn't as prominent or as important as it was a couple of years ago. So I don't know. I can see that perspective too.
No, that's why I said I get what he's trying to say of like, yo, life is so much easier because you don't have to learn code. Like I truly don't have, if I had time, yeah, I would learn code, but I don't have time. And so I do appreciate AI and all the things that it's allowed me to do as far as what I do. However, no, get on stage and say, before we told people to code. Now there's no need for that. No, there's still need. There is still need. You run one of the largest things that is contributing to AI right now. Yes, you need coders. What are you talking about, sir? Like, but okay, this is me. That's how I interpret it. I look at it from a holistic way, not from just more of a selfish way. Yeah, no, thank you. Because of your company, I'm allowed to do a lot too. So thank you. But no, I don't like it. I don't like it. But I know he meant well. So shout out to you. I want there to be more coders. I just want there to be more coders.
I respect the coders. Hey, gotta respect the coders. I respect the coders.
Let's do a little bit of a transition into the main topic of the day, which is rebranding. Okay, so question is why do brands change their look, their colors, even their messaging? We've seen it with Facebook going into Meta. We've even seen it from Dunkin' Donuts going into Dunkin' and how they look super sleek right now. That makes me want to go to Dunkin', and I had no desire to do this before, right? But the question is, when should we do it as brands, as businesses? What are some signs? What are some things we should consider when it comes to rebranding? And I found a great clip from 99 Designs by Vista that talks about the signs that we should I can't even talk. We should rebrand. Say that 5 times fast, right? And so we're gonna break it up into certain parts, right? We got 3 good parts that we wanted to talk about. So let's go with the first sign.
Consider rebranding if you're breaking into a new market, changing your price point, using new ingredients and materials, or modifying your services in a significant way. Similarly, if you're expanding your target demographic or changing it entirely, you'll need to rethink your branding strategy, as different customers have different preferences for what kind of brands they want to do business with.
So it's cool because if you see as in the video side of this, of like the Doritos logo, right? And just even some of your favorite companies just changing the logo, where with Doritos or any kind of food situation, I like how she said, if you change the ingredients, right? If there's going to be certain changes, and even with the demographics, there does need to be a talk. That doesn't mean instantly, let's rebrand. I added more salt. We need a rebrand, right? Oh, I'm adding we used to talk from 22 to 44. Now we're going up to 55, or we're going to target more teens to 55. Like, we need a rebrand. That's not necessarily true, but these are just different signs, right? Now, I will say, if it is a whole new audience, right? If you were talking to baby boomers and now you're talking to Gen Z, yeah, your messaging is going to be different. The look has to be different because the look has to be relatable to them, right? Where especially if you're going into a younger generation, what happens is that we have to fit the mold that makes them look and say, yo, this is for me. This is what I need. This is what I can truly relate to. When you're adding new things, and it's not about new products, right? But it's about looking at it, and does this really change the direction of what people know us for, is where I gotta be like, you know what? Maybe I gotta rebrand. Let's at least have the conversations about it. I'm not saying go spend $700, $3,000, $10,000 on a whole new rebrand. Just like I said, because you add a new service. But it's a conversation. What you think?
Yeah. Yeah. No, this is the first time I've thought about or heard someone explain rebranding with some form of framework or science behind when you should do it, when is the right time to do it, because to get bored of your colors, your design, or the look of what you have, that's not the reason for it. So I think this is really a great way to think about it, where you start to say, okay, I'm approaching a new demographic, or I want to separate myself from what maybe I was known for before. So that rebrand is a great way to talk about it. You know, one thing that I think about over the years too is the natural evolution of a brand or a business, and just in terms of how they evolve, how they get better. And so you see that look, like you said, with the Doritos logo, just it being more refined to fit the times of today. So I think that's a great way to think about it. Quite honestly, I don't think I've ever gave it that much thought into, it's probably time for us to rebrand, or we can consider making something look more refined, not just because we want to, but because we're targeting a new audience, we're looking for a new demographic, the service or product that we're putting out has also changed a bit. So really, really good way to think about it.
Facts. Let's go into the second tip.
Your original branding never performed as well as you wanted, it might be time to rebrand. It's a totally reasonable misjudgment. What we think our brand should be can be worlds apart from what it needs to be when we launch. If people start associating things like your logo and brand name, etc., with a company misstep, a rebrand might help you distance yourself from negative connotations.
Now, I want to be careful, because some people is going to hear that and be like, it's not working. It's time for a rebrand. And you've done it for three months. I mean,
it's good.
And you got to be realistic with looking at some of the people that's in your niche, in your market, and let's see how long they've been doing it and when did it start hitting. And then compare it to you at that point of like, have I even gotten to the point where I may consider rebranding, because it still hasn't even made some type of traction, right? Now, granted, I do believe everybody, when we start a brand, when we start a business, we're on some like, it's going to go to the moon. This is going to work. This is, and you see the lights, the stars, the revenue, you see it all. And then when it slowly happens, you're like, this ain't it. This ain't it. This is not hitting. So this is where I would caution you when you hear that, where it's like, what are we comparing it to? Right? What is our realistic benchmarks? And are we assessing it over facts or over what we feel like should have happened? I like that first one, as far as like, okay, if it's not working, think of a rebrand. But I cautious people with that one.
Yeah. And you know, the one thing I'll add to that too, because she talks about distancing yourself from a bad reputation. If you change your logo or the look of your brand because of that, but you don't change the way you're doing things, I don't think it's worth the rebrand. Right. So it's like, if it's for one of those hacks. Now, I know for most of us in the personal brand space, that example is not always super relevant. It's usually tied to big corporations that, I don't know, they abuse labor laws overseas or whatever the case may be. I can see that being more relevant there. But even still for us, just really tie those two things. A rebrand is not a rebrand if you're going to continue to practice broken, practices. Like if that's not it. So you want to change, yes, because you want to distance yourself maybe from something that happened in the past. Heck, maybe it could be a business partner or someone on your team or staff who did some stuff that you're like, no, that's really not me. And so you want to change it. So make sure you're intentional about also like almost promoting the new way of what you're doing things, because I don't think that makes sense. Like I know back in the day, people here would change the name of their companies to get away from any tax issues that they've had, but they would still practice the same line of business. So it's like, okay, I see that you've made a change, but you haven't really changed, if that makes sense. It's like a visual change, but not a practical change. So I would also add that piece into it, that if the change or the rebrand is happening for that reason, make sure that you're also changing your practices and the way you're doing things.
Here's a good question for the audience. Should Revolt and Ciroc rebrand due to the bad reputation of who they are associated with, right? Granted, all is allegations and things like that, but allegations still hurt companies.
Yeah.
So because of the trust and authority that's attached to it. So my question for the audience is, do you believe that Revolt and Ciroc should rebrand? If so, how? I do believe drowning a bad reputation is a play for brands that have that, right? Whether it is through partners, through allegations, through something that bad customer service, whatever it is, like drowning that with overwhelming community service, of like something of true positivity for the culture, for the community. I think that's a good play to think about. So, but let's go to the third framework.
Mergers, acquisitions, new leadership, new policies. Rebranding is a great way to tell the world your company's going in a new direction. Been in business for a long time, it's only natural that your original branding, especially if it's decades old, might be outdated. Society's visual tastes and styles never stop changing, and certain looks are associated with certain time periods, so even the most timeless of logos might need a refresh.
So when they said acquisitions, that was like, he will talk.
Yeah, no, and it's interesting that she also tied it to new leadership too, because I was going to say that, and we'll have a deeper discussion on it maybe in the after show, like you mentioned, but I was going to say that one of the ways to rebrand is to internally start with leadership. And so she's saying it the other way around. Like when that happens, then you can also use it as an opportunity to rebrand the brand to the public, or, show a different face of the brand to the public, which is pretty interesting. But and I can see, because when you talk mergers and acquisitions, there's this natural of joining forces that has to happen, right? I think there's like a big credit or bank acquisition that's happening now between Discover and I think the other one is Capital One. I'm not sure, but I can see that being another opportunity or thought process of like, all right, how do you get two giant forces that used to be standalone conglomerates now come together and communicate that to the public in terms of how it's better and what's happening there? But I guess I got to ask a question on that. Like, how do you keep your tradition in something that has been around forever? And so I wonder if a rebrand ever makes that look different. Like, can you think of any rebrands that maybe didn't hit the mark that you were like, wait, why did you even rebrand like that? We want the old you. Like, we don't want this new version of you.
You mean
Do you
Twitter?
think it has to do with?
You mean Twitter?
Oh, yeah. It's funny because last week we were saying X, formerly Twitter.
Yeah, Twitter.
Sure enough, yeah.
Twitter, poor Twitter. Rest in peace, Twitter. But I can't think of many that kind of missed the mark, right? I do know there are certain ones I'm looking at, certain logos, and I feel like people are going simpler, right? I know like Sweet Green. Sweet Green used to have like these E's that were like back to back. And now they're literally just made it kind of like a box logo, Sweet Green, right?
Right.
Burger King made their logo simpler. The Peanuts, what is it? Planters, they made their logo simpler. It's more. I was shout out to Isaiah. He was sharing like debunking, like debranding or something like that, right? Where people because it's such a mobile friendly environment now that people are going simpler where they used to be more complex, right? Sometimes when we start brands, we start really big. We think complex websites, complex messaging to talk to everybody, complex colors and logos, and where now it's just like let's go simpler, right? And that does sometimes happens with change of leadership, because it's like growing up. Like you start, you could see how long a brand has been around based off how often their logos have changed. Not often, but the transitions of their logos from possibly really fun looking, really outrageous, kind of like, oh wow, that stands out, to like it's very simple, very classic. And I think you graduate to, how do I become a classic brand? How does my business stand out in any billboard, any website, any phone, computer, shirt, whatever? Like, how can we know that is the Nike sign? How can we know that is the golden arch, right? How do we know? Like, there's, when we look at the companies and the brands that really stand out, it's something that is simple and classic, and that goes with growing up. So you may have a young CEO or one that has a young mind in starting a business, to then it graduates and matures to, we need to not necessarily hit the masses, but we need to appeal to people in their different stages of life when they are this way, or like, what is our true target audience, and let's appeal to them and they know exactly what it is. So like, I like the leadership one, because like Discord went through a rebrand, Paramount, with Paramount Plus. So a lot of brands that we know, a lot of I think especially with like media companies, with the rise of streaming and everything, is making a true, a true change, that you like, okay, let's look at mine, and am I in that position to start looking, what would classic look like? What would simple look like? What would, even though my logo may stand out now, my website may stand out now, what would make it even stand out even more?
Yeah, that's a really good point. Just to think about, almost from a maturity standpoint, you get to a point where you don't need to cry out for attention or call out for attention. Like, hey, look at me. I'm the new guy on the block. I'm super innovative, or I'm really talented. And so you do get to a point where you don't necessarily have to prove yourself, but you just need that classic look to say, I've been here, I do this, right? Like, it just communicates a different message. Both are necessary, both are needed, but there is a certain swagger that has to go with each, and probably a different strategy depending on the age of your brand, or just where you are as you enter. As we look at examples, even from, going back to this Jake Paul example of him getting that tattoo, whether it's real or not, I mean, you can see how important it is, the messaging with whatever marketing you're trying to do. Like, you really thinking of the messaging to attract and have people pay attention to what it is that you're doing, or what is it that you do. So that's a really good point that you make there about just the different age that you might enter in, and how you communicate that just with something as simple as your logo.
Yeah, like, also what I've noticed, I think also as you are longer in the game, how you don't have to identify the market. Meaning, Dunkin' Donuts removed donuts. Papa John's removed from their logo pizza. Like, you should know. Like, I don't have to say donuts, pizza, clothing, sneakers, whatever. Like Jordans don't say Jordan sneakers. Right?
Right.
So,
Category. Yeah.
so with it maturing and making their stamp on the market, then you can remove some of the things that you thought was necessary and you find out that it's not that necessary.
Yeah. And also, I'm thinking like Duncan made that move, but now they're also buying slots in the Super Bowl with Ben Affleck and, you know, some big name players to really, to really let you know, okay, yes, we're Duncan, but this is what we do. So I can see like multiple benefits of that too, because like don't only come to us for donuts, come to us for coffee. We don't want you just going to Starbucks, you know. So it's like that's a pretty tactical move, and you're right. They're entering. I wonder how old their brand is. I'm gonna look that up. But yeah, that makes sense for sure.
So off top, right? You got a few more minutes. So in this random question, segue to this random question is sponsored by flightassessment.com. Discover your personal superpower, learn how to use your superpower to become a master communicator, strengthen all your relationships, and develop the self-awareness you need to fulfill your highest potential. Go to flightassessment.com. So random question. Is there a rebrand that you were really impressed, or is there a brand that you are attached to because of your loyalty that you're like, you really probably need a facelift somehow?
Yeah. Low key, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm going to say it. And maybe it's a little bit early, but Apple. I think Apple is coming up against that time. Yeah. I mean, Apple has had this new clean look for quite some time now, especially since the new generation of Apple. You remember, I mean, look, they've gone from the rainbow colors, which is funny because now that you pointed out the Microsoft label, logo, I'm like, man, Microsoft had the colors. Google has the color. Google still has the colors. Apple once had the colors. So it's interesting that, you know, the red, yellow, blue, green dynamic was in a lot of these tech startups at some point, or these major tech companies at one point, but then they've gone super clean. And I've always raved about Apple's aesthetic, their brand, just that white, clean, super luxury look. And I know there's some psychology that ties into the more space you put something in, the more, you know, expensive it feels. So I know in their store, for example, in their Staples store here in New York on Fifth Avenue, they started to go more green. So they reshaped the store or remodeled the store. And when you go into it, it has more of an earthy feel. So I don't know if that's consistent across all stores, but I do think it is time for, you know, it could be time soon for a facelift for Apple. And I would wonder what that would be. And I'm saying that also in addition to the fact that, and granted, I know they failed at their attempt to bring an electric car to the market. Not many people are talking about that, by the way, right?
Yeah, even I was looking forward to that. I was looking forward to that.
Yeah, even though it's a huge L for them. But I'm just saying, like, you look at the, you know, the branding of cars like a Tesla and some of these other brands, still pretty simple and sleek. But for you to be the leader, you have to continue to lead. Right. So it's like, I don't know. I'm wondering if there's another level that Apple would reach to, you know, to make that happen. So
that's interesting. That's
yeah. You gotta swing for the fences with it. But it's the truth though. If you're the best, like how do you remain the best? Do you get to a point, and I know this is almost in a polar direction or a polar opposite direction of what we just talked about, with you get to that classic age and you stay there, but you're in tech. Like, I don't know that you could stay the same in tech. That's actually the point of being in tech, right? It's like you sign up for lifelong changes and evolution and advancement. So yeah, that's just my thought perspective on that one.
okay. That threw me off. I like the spin that you put to it, because I thought you were going, if you brought Apple, I just thought you were going to bring up how they are not evolving in their technology, but you're more going towards just, it's a super clean look. So are they supposed to
What's
get
next?
Yeah, I'm like, are they supposed to get complicated? I thought we just promoted clean looks.
No, not complicated. I'm just saying, what does evolution look like in the way the brand presents itself? I mean, is it just a color change? It's like a request hoping that they solve the answer, because I don't know that I have the answer for something like that. But I think through the lens of, okay, what is a company who is super cash rich, has I don't want to say unlimited resources, because I don't know what that sounds like, but let's just call it close to unlimited resources. What does advancements in their look feel like? Or maybe Apple would consider the way the color changes that they make with every new release as a rebrand. I don't know. I'd be curious to find out. But that's just one of the ones that definitely come to mind.
Okay, all right. You know what? So I will say I do appreciate, maybe I'm biased on this one. I do appreciate Instagram's rebrand from when it was like this Polaroid situation, only concentrating on pictures, to kind of where it is now and how it's evolved, and because of its mission to be pretty much media for everybody, from pictures to short form to live. I do like how they have evolved and are transparent with their branding and their changes. What I will say is, one that I think needs to rebrand or maybe give it a different experience is Time Magazine. I think Time can go, when we're talking about experiences, I think if they was to do pop-ups of like a real life Time like edition. So if it was if they were covering, let's say, Michael Jackson, I don't know, random, right? Well, let's just say Mike Tyson, because he's about to be back in news and everything like that. But like the life of Mike Tyson. So they would just do different pop-ups of, you could hear certain things, you could remember certain fights, you can get inside of his gloves. Like, if you're really trying to highlight a certain person, what are the different experiences that you can give? I think that would be really dope. But I would love to see how Time Magazine could rebrand in some way, shape, or form, because that used to be a big deal. And of course, because of how digital life is now, they still have some weight, but not as much weight as they used to. Now, granted, Time Magazine, I think we've covered it in a previous episode, where it's more than just Time. They have all these other companies and departments and things like that. But it's just media in general, certain old-fashioned media just needs a rebrand in itself. So, yeah.
You know what would be an interesting one too, as I think about it, because I've seen some people go back and forth about this online this year, the New York Yankees. So they have been known for the longest to be one of the only teams in baseball to not have last names on the back of their jerseys.
Yeah.
They don't have any what they call City Connect jerseys. City Connect jerseys are like these new, different color, more flashier jerseys that teams use throughout, special times in the season. Yeah. And so the Yankees have had, I'm talking about the same exact look for a very long time. They're probably the only team in baseball that also doesn't allow their players to have facial hair or style a beard, only a mustache And so I think that's a part of the Yankee brand. So it's one of those super traditional things that's like, yo, you can't mess with it. But I would throw that as a question for people, especially for baseball fans. I don't know if y'all rock with it like that, but are y'all feeling that? Because I did see the conversation on X this season with baseball starting back up. People saying, it would be nice for the Yankees to get a City Connect jersey. And what would that even look like? They're so iconic with the pinstripe white and navy blue. Like they really don't do much outside of that. I think they made one change this year and they removed the letter or the coloring around the New York on the away jerseys or something like that. It's like very simple changes. So nothing that stands out, but that's one of those ones like, yo, would the Yankees need it? But again, I think of that classic example. It's like, no, you're the Yankees. I don't know that you need to do any changes at that point. But City Connect would be nice. It's like for a series, nothing major.
That's fair. Let us know what rebrand that you have fell in love with, or what needs to be rebranded. They need to do there's some kind of change, right? So let us know that. Of course, let me shout out some of our Patreon users. Aaron the artist, we got Miss Taylor, we got Calvin, Vaughn, Miss Williams, we got Teresa and Billy, all part of our Creator Av tier. If you are not part of Patreon, go to patreon.com/Nicky and Moose, or just go to Patreon and look up Nicky and Moose and join the fam and everything like that. Follow us on all social media platforms, Nicky and Moose. deeperthanthebrand.com. Go check that out. Puerto Rico Mastermind still happening. If you're part of Deeper Than the Brand, then you know. Moose, what you got on extreme execution, flight assessment, all that great stuff? Or
we're actually looking. Yeah, we're looking at bringing back the business boot camp in the end of April. So look out for that. We'll be doing a nice holiday run. Well, not holiday run, but a weekend run at the end of April. So that'll be a good time.
Very good. And Moose, final words.
Yeah, Ramadan Mubarak to everyone who's celebrating, man. We start our first, by the time you're listening to this, we are in the season. So I got to give you one to really line it up, or at least let people reflect on the spiritual side of things. That's where I'll be for the next month. So live with me. But this one says, God has 3 replies to our prayers. Yes, but not now, or I have a better plan for you. All right, so I know sometimes you get in situations where you're like, why is it not going my way? Well, think back to those 3 responses. You're either waiting on a yes, but not now, or don't even worry about this. I got something better planned for you. So, just another way to think about delays when they come up.